Now, the 2014 version of the MacBook Air is pretty much identical to last year's version of the MacBook Air, but in this video we're going to specifically take a look at this new model of the Air and see how it compares against the late 2013 version of the MacBook Pro Retina Edition. So without any further ado, let's get right into this comparison and see how these two models fare against each other. Now, we always think of the MacBook Air as the smaller counterpart of the MacBook Pro, but in terms of footprint, it's actually slightly larger than the MacBook Pro Retina Edition. However, in terms of thickness and weight, the Air still represents a more compact computing experience in Apple's lineup of notebooks, especially if you consider getting the 11-inch option of the MacBook Air. And again, much like last year's model of the Air, we still don't see a Thunderbolt 2 port. We still have one single Thunderbolt 1 port, and the MacBook Retina Edition has two Thunderbolt 2.0 ports, so if you want the highest bandwidth connection, the MacBook Pro still has that advantage. Now, certainly one of the big selling points of the MacBook Pro is that Retina display, having a resolution of 2560 by 1600 versus a resolution of 1440 by 900 is kind of a killer feature for anybody looking for a super high resolution computing experience on the go. Now, the only big noticeable update of the 2014 edition of the Air is that now we have a 1.4 gigahertz processor that can turbo up to 2.7 gigahertz. And when we take a look at the Retina model, we have a 2.4 gigahertz model that can turbo up to 2.9 gigahertz. And since both CPUs are based off of the Haswell architecture, you're going to find some really similar performance in the graphics processors as well. And importantly, since we're testing out the baseline configuration of both computers, we're not going to see a big difference between the Intel Iris that's in the Pro and the HD 5000 integrated graphics that's in the MacBook Air. Now, lastly, for some of you who are curious, both of these computers still have 720p FaceTime cameras, and they both have dual band AC networking capabilities, which is certainly going to give you the fastest wireless performance if you have an AC router. Okay, now we're going to get into the good stuff here. We're going to test out the CPU by using Cinebench, and as you can see over here, we've sped up things, and our result is we're getting about 240 points on our Air and about 261 points on the MacBook Pro. Now, next we're going to move on to Geekbench, and as you can see, we got about 7339 on our MacBook Air, and we got almost 1,000 points more on the MacBook Pro, getting about 8253. Now, both laptops have 128 gigabytes of internal SSD memory, and in order to test the speeds between the two, we're going to use good old-fashioned Blackmagic speed tests, and here you can see we're getting both over 700 megabytes per second on the read and over 300 on the write. So very similar performance. And lastly, we're going to go ahead and test out our graphics capabilities on both computers by using Unigen's Heaven benchmark. And as you can see over here, we got about 8.1 on the 2014 MacBook Air and about 8.6 on the MacBook Pro. Now, importantly, if you do decide to get the higher versions of either computer, you will find a bigger significant difference between the standard HD 5000 series graphics and the Intel Iris. So if you do decide to upgrade your computer, depending on your configuration, you are going to find some bigger differences between these two. That's really it, guys. If you have any questions about anything I talked about in this video, please make sure to leave that on a comment down below. And this was kind of an interesting comparison. Just a couple of months ago, I did a very similar comparison with the Retina version of the MacBook Pro that you're looking at against the 2013 version of the MacBook Air, and the results were pretty much identical. Since this new version of the MacBook Air is very, very similar, almost a clone of last year's version, you're going to have those similar results. But the cool thing is Apple has reduced the price by $100, so that might sway you to go with the MacBook Air if you're interested in its kind of compact, lightweight size overall. If you need something really, really premium with great battery life, you still have 12 hours of battery life on this model. So definitely a huge plus for me. And based on my testing, I also have the previous version. I'm getting a little bit better battery life on this just by a couple of minutes. Not a huge difference, but that might be interesting for some of you out there. But thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions at all about anything I talked about, again, please make sure to leave that on a comment down below. Make sure to give us a thumbs up. And if you want any more information, please visit the links down below where you'll find more information on everything we talked about. And thank you so much again. We'll see you later. Take care.